Hello, and we're live again. Welcome to Succeed, Ask and Lead to Succeed, which is our weekly leadership Q&A. My name is Jens Heitland. I am the founder of Succeed, which is a leadership platform where we matchmake in the future leadership coaches, leadership consultants with people in need of leadership. And today is all about leading. And the main theme of today's Q&A is how do I lead as a founder, which is focused on startup founders. But obviously, if you're a startup founder or if you're a founder of another company, that's most probably similar. So if you are a founder and have questions, if you are a person that has leadership questions, please shoot them inside of the comments and I will try to pick them up and answer them live. If I can't answer them live, I will come back and bring them in next week or the week after. So, as said, today is all about how do I lead as a founder. And I got already a couple of questions, but before we go into the questions I got, I want to share a little bit what I have learned from founders and one specific founder. So, some of you might know that I have worked quite a long time in IKEA, which was almost 12 years. And the founder of IKEA, I've met him personally, I think twice or three times. And what was fascinating, and just for those of you who know IKEA, it was a family owned or is a family owned company, family founded company. And this founder has truly led as the good example. And that's something I want to put before we go into the Q&A. Leading as a good example. If you're a founder, you have the responsibility for maybe in the beginning, if you are a startup, a couple of people, but as further you grow, as more responsibility do you have. That means for your employees, but also for their families, for their livelihood and everything. So very, very interesting thing what the founder of IKEA always did when he was visiting IKEA stores. So he went out visiting IKEA stores almost through his whole life. When he went into the stores, he was there very, very, very early on. An IKEA store behind the scenes is opening most of the time, let's say 5 o'clock at least. If it's smaller stores, if it's bigger stores, even earlier. So when basically the goods are coming and the LKWs or trucks are delivering the furniture and so he was coming as the founder of IKEA, worth most probably a couple of billions, being there at 5 a.m. and talking to the truck drivers. And the first question he always asked, "Did you get your coffee?" And that just shows you the dedication this man had. Another example, when he was then over the day doing his store tour, so walking around the store, getting to know people, talking to customers on an ongoing base, and he never stopped. So when he stopped while walking through the store, talking with people, he was picking up dirt. So there was paper, there was something on the floor. He was picking it up and put it into the trash bin. Just again, leading through good example. I've done it myself because that was part of the culture when I was working in IKEA, doing these things when you are a leader. I've done it in different other businesses as well, where I picked up the dirt in front of other people when for them I was a higher manager, and what they have seen is that I do this, so they kind of feel the obligation to do it themselves as well. So if you're a founder, leading is as a good example is, for me, it's the number one thing you should be doing, and it's very, very helpful if you do that. So let's go into the Q&A. As said, if you have questions, you're welcome to put them into the chat, or if you want us to answer your question, you can go to wearesucceed.com. There's a Q&A library. Maybe you find the questions you have already. We have, I think, about 30, 40 Q&As already inside of our bank, and you can find a lot of answers already. If you can't find it, go to wearesucceed.com and then just contact us from there. First question I got: how should I behave as the leader when I own the company? So that's basically the starting point of the Q&A today. Um, I mentioned already, be the good example. I think that's the number one thing. If you're the leader and you own the company, you are on the spot every day. There's no day that you can slack. And that sounds harsh, but I think that's your responsibility as the leader. If you're not feeling well, just to say this, that's fine, but then make everyone aware of this and maybe don't go into the company if you are in a physical environment. Say you're not well today, you don't feel well, and then don't go into very important meetings where you might take wrong decisions. So be the good example throughout every day. Support people in your organization to take decisions. I think that's also, when you're the owner of the company, you need to understand that you should not be doing everything. So you need to help people, especially your close leadership team, as you grow, and or your co-founders, to take decisions without you being involved. So that's important for you to understand. You grow slowly into the leadership role, and then as the founder or as the owner of the company, that's super important. um, Obviously you have a lot on your plate. If you're the founder or CEO of the company, then that's how it is. But remember that you have the team members around you that can help you. um, Take time out. I said it already. Take time for yourself. So the tricky thing is, and I may be as well a bad example when it comes to these things. Take a step back sometimes where you care about yourself. So you need to be on top, in top shape every day. That means you need to work on your mental health. You need to work on your physical health, which is nutrition, um, meditation, which is sports. I think it's crucial. A lot of founders neglect that, and then they pay badly for that a couple of years after. Very important to do that as a founder, because, as I said, everyone sees you every day. You are on a podest when you come into the organization. Everything you do, even the smallest email, the smallest text message you send as the founder when you own the company, everyone sees that, and everyone takes that extra ordinary with patience. So with patience may be the wrong way in saying it, but you get what I mean. So next question: how can I convey authority without being harsh? That's often interesting. Maybe we start a little early with that, or from a first perspective. Being a founder, being a leader in your organization means you have two different tasks. One is obviously managing things, which is a manager task. From your position, you have the authority. So nobody will question your authority as the leader from your position. Everyone that is reporting to you is understanding that they're reporting to you. So that's the authority you have. Important is the leadership authority. For me, the leadership authority is different, because leadership means that people who are working with you, people who are connected to you, are willing to follow you without reporting to you. And obviously, if they're reporting to you and you are motivating them in a way that they're willing to follow you, that's the best thing you can do. So, as the founder of the company, as the founding team member and leader, this is a crucial point for you to understand. You have a manager role, which is managing specific things, and then you have a leadership role, which is leading and empowering the whole organization. But let's go more into details. Even when you're insecure if you have the authority or not, take a step back and understand that, hey, I'm the founder of this company. People treat me in the way that they trust me, hopefully at least. So take that step back and understand, hey, I'm feeling insecure right now. I might not know what I'm doing, but I have the responsibility in leading, I have the responsibility in managing. And that's the burden of being a founder and being a leader as a founder. And that's what you need to understand for yourself. Involve your team. It's very, very easy to ask your team for feedback. Um, ask if they understand what you said. Just basic, specifically, if you take your main leadership team, do reflection rounds. It don't need to be in a normal meeting, but do reflection rounds in between where they give each other feedback and give your feedback. A very, very important thing I have learned as a leader, and I think that's for every leader, as more predictable you are, as better it is and as easier it is for your team members to work with you. If you, let's say, two extremes, you're a laissez-faire leader on one day where you don't care about anything, and next day you kick everyone into the butt, um, just because you're in a bad mood, that's extremely bad for a team, and that's extremely bad, especially when you're a founder. So you need to be in control of who you are and how you treat other people on an ongoing base, and be predictable for the people you interact. And set high standards. I think specifically if you are the founder of the organization, you need to set very, very, very high standards to yourself, which I guess you do because you're building a business, you're owning a business, but as well to everyone else. Then set goals and keep the people accountable to their goals and what they're setting. And that goes back to the management and leadership, but also goes back to the predictability. So if people understand how you are and they can more go with you and understand how they're getting feedback, then it's very helpful for them. Let's see if we got questions. Yes. So what do we have here? Okay. What task should I do and what should I delegate? I think that's a good question as the founder. So, as the founder of a startup, what task should I do myself or what task should I delegate? For me, number one, what you definitely should be doing is leadership, give a direction for the total organization, and take bigger decisions. Bigger decisions where it's really necessary that you take the decisions. Because yes, when you're small, you have two people, you have three people, maybe you have five people, you're most probably taking almost all decisions. But as early as possible, understand that when you're delegating, you're freeing up your time. Time is the most precious resource you have as a manager and as well as a founder. Every single minute you spend on doing things someone else in your team could be doing, you're wasting your time. And that's, I think, the part which you should delegate. Everything else, focus on leadership, give directions, take bigger decisions, and obviously drive the business forward with interactions, client relationships, investor relationships, board relationships. That are the things you should be moving forward. Obviously, as I said, it depends on where you are in your journey. If you're very, very early on, you might be alone, you might have two co-founders, you might have one co-founder, you don't have staff yet. It still helps you to understand, okay, what are the decisions I need to take? What are the decisions my co-founders can take? Or what are the decisions and how do we take decisions as a team? And what are the things you can delegate? Even if you have a very, very small team, let's say three people, you can delegate things either to the others or you take an external person that you can delegate to. Depends on your setup. Next question. I have no leadership experience. How can I develop as a leader? That's quite common. So if you are starting a startup, founding a startup, and you're in your first, let's say, 2 years, a lot of people who are starting a startup don't have, like, if we just take my example, I'm now 42. I've worked in large corporate and I've had leadership roles since 2005. And we're shooting this video, or the live session is in 2023. So it's a long time where I have leadership experience in different ways. And when I started my own business, when I started my startup, then obviously I have that. I'm missing other things that might be needed as building a startup, but the leadership thing I have. So if you're coming from university, if you never had people reporting to you, it's crucial that you learn this as early as possible, because it's also helping you to be conscious of your decisions, be conscious about yourself, and how do you lead yourself, which I often say. So, leadership is a journey. Don't forget this. You don't need to be perfect in the beginning. If you have two, three people, five people, you can learn this fairly quickly. There are a couple of things which help you just to stay on track, which is how do you delegate tasks? How do you empower people and start leading, which is not managing? So, delegation is managing, leading is enabling people to grow, enabling people to get better. If you learn this, how do you motivate people? How do you get people doing more than what they're asked for? That's the best thing you can learn, and you do this step by step. Do this through trial and error. If you don't want to spend money in hiring a coach, hiring a mentor, working with someone, do this trial and error. Of course, there are hundreds of thousand resources you can look at, YouTube videos, podcasts, whatever. The best method is trial and error. Do it, reflect, sit down, write down what do you want to do better, what do you want to learn, and then do this. Spend time on this in the same time when you develop your product, when you look into how do you build your business forward. Because as your startup grows, as more important gets the leadership topics. Because then you have maybe 20 people, maybe you have 50 people, maybe you have 100 people, and then you need to be good at leadership, because if you are not capable of motivating and getting 100 people into one direction, you will struggle going forward. And I think it starts already with 10, 15, 20, where you should be fairly good when it comes to leadership, or you should have someone who is good. That's another topic. I mentioned already, having a coach, having a mentor is very, very helpful, because they can keep you accountable. I know that's often not the thing you want to do as a founder, especially as tech founders. We're not always into this coaching thing where someone tells us what to do, or even more important, let's say the males founders, the male founders. We're not really into this fluffy stuff, but I can highly recommend to do it. I have had the chance to do a leadership coaching education, and it helped me tremendously understanding myself. So go and do these things, understand what leadership for you is, how you want to lead, what's the best thing, as well reflect on how you would like to be led if you have a manager. And obviously there are hundreds of thousand opportunities to do leadership educational topics. Succeed is one of the topics where you can do that, but not necessarily the only one. There are thousands of opportunities for you. Next question. Let me check if there are questions here. Yes. I'm the CEO and have two co-founders. How do I lead them? Yes, so you're the CEO and have two co-founders, and how do you lead them? I think for me, if you're a co-founding team with just three people, you're most probably like a family. You know each other for quite a while, I guess at least. Um, so you should be almost equal. If you're the CEO, the three of you have decided that you're the person that's giving the drive, that's um, gets the direction and organized, and takes a little bit more responsibility than the others. So I think that's the key part. Get the organization on track, show a visionary perspective, involve the co-founders as much as possible. I think it's not about you running alone, it's more about how do you keep them as well in check, on track, and the three of you in this case driving into the direction that helps the startup to succeed on a long term base. And I think that's maybe an important one for you in this question. There are more startups that fail because the founding team is not working well together than the product market fit. So, what can you do today already, early on, to build transparency and put things on the table where you feel there's something not right? And if you build this culture in from the beginning where we say, hey, let's put everything on the table, maybe you get a mediator, a fourth person in that has nothing to do with your company, that's just listening to the three of you, and it's then helping you to solve the tensions, solve the small, tiny problems you might have before they grow over time. Because there are different cycles in startups and as well in personal life. Sometimes personal life and startup life is not really easy to work with each other, and people are in different life cycles. And you're most probably, if it's three of you, you're most probably not always in the same life cycle. So use that, build this from the beginning as early as possible so that you have a clear understanding of how you want to work together and how you take decisions. And you, as the CEO, I think, should be the driver of this. Hope that helps. Good. More questions? No question here. I have another one. I'm new in leadership. What do others think of me if they're recognizing that I'm not experienced? I think that's a very interesting question. So if people are recognizing that you're not um, well experienced as a leader, it's important to be honest. It's A startup is an ecosystem where you are used and can fail on a daily basis. I think it's more about building that trust with your team, that you're honest and open to say, I've never led people, I'm doing this, I'm trying my best, give me feedback. So that you build in with your team members different feedback session. And I would do this one on one, not as a total team, where you like, what do you think about? How do you feel about the leadership? How do you feel about we're getting things moving? If you do build this feedback culture similar to the other question, this will help you to be more successful and learn quicker. It's really for you as a newbie in leadership, take a step by step approach where you say, okay, this week I want to establish this. I want to inspire my team with this. I want to build my team closer together because of this. Take it step by step, make a plan, make a leadership plan for yourself. What do you want to achieve from a leadership perspective? Which should go hand in hand with the business, but make a plan. Put goals down that help you to decide what is the right thing to do, and then test and prototype step by step your way forward. Get a feedback loop where you talk to your team members one on one, very important, on a regularly basis, so that you can navigate and understand what's going on. What as well is a good thing, talk to your manager. If you have a manager, if you're the founder, you most probably don't have a manager, but maybe you have board members, maybe you have other people that know you quite well, that see how you interact with different team members so they can give you feedback. And or peers. You can even use a co-founder of a different company or a founder of a different company that give you feedback. If they are close to you and understand how you interact with your stuff, because external people often see it more direct of how you're interacting with your stuff, for example, with your personal assistant, how you treat the people, and then they can give you feedback. Establish this feedback loop so that you learn quicker. But in the beginning, if you have new people and you start out with a small team, I would just be honest and say, hey, you're the first person I'm leading. Let me know if things are going well or not. I'm open for critique and I'm open for feedback all time. That's it with my questions. So let me check if there are more questions. No questions anymore. So this was the Q&A around how do I lead as a founder of a startup. Thank you very much for joining today. We will see each other next week again. Next week, I'm traveling, so I need to see how I'm doing that. But if we are not seeing us next week, we will see us the week after. If you have questions, go to wearesucceed.com. You're welcome to ask your questions, and we try to answer them. In the future, I will bring as well a couple of more people on the Q&A. That's not just me answering questions. That's it for today. Thank you very much and have a wonderful weekend.